Do you think life is simpler as time evolves? For some, it can be more complicated when facing issues about health, estate plans, probate, long-term care, and more. That's why Attorney-CPA Joe Cordell hosts ElderTalk with TuckerAllen, providing intelligent answers for those thinking about their future. Here's Attorney-CPA Joe Cordell.
Welcome to another episode of ElderTalk. This week we're doing something a little special. This is an idea that we talked about over the past several months, and that's the idea of selecting particular people from the St. Louis area or this part of Missouri who are seniors and whose names you probably know, and then to talk a little bit about their careers, but especially about the period of time since they retired. So it's a way of sort of personalizing this whole retirement discussion that we spend so much time with.
Yes, our notable seniors retirees segment.
Now, this is a name that you coined, right?
It is.
So here we go. We need your votes of confidence for this section. So do our introduction.
And with us for our very first segment is former St. Louis County Police Chief Ron Battelle. He's currently the Executive Director of Backstoppers. So you're our first notable senior retiree. No pressure there.
Well, I'm honored. I've been under pressure many times, so this is easy.
Well, it's a name that is well known in this area. And but I'm willing to bet that most people don't know a lot about your career and how long it was. I mean, they know of your term as chief, and of course, anybody who dealt with the police for a period of decades have known your name. But
exactly.
Some people may not be that familiar with your career. So why don't we start there?
Right. And you started with St. Louis County Police in 1965, and you're considered the only one that moved up the ranks?
Right. I was went on the county police in 1965, directly into the police academy, and then progressed through the ranks. And I was first officer in the department's history to have worked through all the ranks to become chief of police. And I'm proud of that. That's one of the highlights of my career, obviously.
So that was unusual. In other words, normally they would bring somebody in laterally who would be higher up the hierarchy.
Right. Yeah, every chief that was there prior to me becoming chief was from outside the department, and different reasons for that, political or otherwise. But, when it opened up and I had an opportunity to apply for it, they said, well, whoever gets this job, if it's internal, will obviously be the first one. I said, well, I want to be the first one. So
yeah. So I think an analogy to this would be like, how often do you hear of somebody who starts on the factory floor of a company, for example,
right,
and ends up as CEO?
Yeah, I was a young kid. I was 22 years old. Had just got out of the Air Force and for 4 years, and had done some military training there, police training, but still hadn't decided what I wanted to do. And when I came home, I was unemployed and needed a job. And law enforcement was a little bit in my background. My father was a part-time police officer up in Riverview.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that sparked some interest, but I decided to apply, and I made it.
Yeah, I just found out we grew up in the same area, and guess what? Went to the same high school.
Well, that's
St.
important
Louis
in St. Louis, I hear.
Mm-hmm.
So now, you must have missed Vietnam, though, at least the heavy involvement. I'm saying you probably got out in 64?
I got out in 65.
65?
But I was in the Vietnam, enlisted in the Vietnam era, but I was not in Vietnam. My assignment was a great assignment. I was assigned to the U.S. Air Force Academy.
You were at the academy in Colorado.
I wasn't a cadet. I was enlisted, but that was my duty station. And it was quite unique assignment there, because essentially it's a military college is what it is,
right.
But you see these young guys going through there, and unfortunately, I've seen a few of them that graduated and went to Vietnam and got killed.
I guess I would think many of them would have gone to Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
Just during that era?
Yeah, that's when it was just beginning.
And is that Colorado Springs?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
But your family's from here. Your dad was a policeman. So you come back when you get out of the military, you come back here, and then you end up starting with St. Louis County Police?
Yes, sir. 1965, October 1st.
So you probably saw some change over those decades.
Oh, many changes, politically, I mean, even geographically. Westport Plaza wasn't even there then. It was just starting to come about. And, the way the community's growing, especially through St. Louis County, as people migrated west. And it's just been tremendous growth.
And, I have to imagine being with St. Louis County Police your entire career, and then you made it all the way up to being the police chief. In 2004, when you decided to retire, I imagine that had to be really difficult because was like another home to you, a family, I would think.
Yeah, it was. But, I was approaching the 40-year mark or thereabouts. And, I had been, in the last several years before I retired, I'd sort of checking out a few things. I just didn't want any job. And, unfortunately in my career, I had 4 officers killed in the line of duty under my watch as chief. And during when those things happen, you get real close with the families, and you always say, I got to do something to help these people, and I was just fortunate at that time. An opening came up at the Backstoppers, which supports families of fallen police, fire, and EMS officers. And
so let's talk about the history of Backstoppers so people have some familiarity. Is it a local organization or is it national?
Backstoppers is local. We cover 18 counties, 13 in Missouri and 5 in Illinois. And it was formed in 1959, actually.
59?
Yes, sir. And it's governed by a board of 30 directors and some advisory directors. And, it was started off as covering just primarily the city, county, and the east side, but it's grown over the years. And, during that, since 1959, we've assisted over 175 people.
Wow.
Families, believe it or not, and that includes many kids. And currently we're helping 80 families and 75 children. And,
wow.
And the benefits we provide are phenomenal.
So in order to qualify for this, or the intended beneficiaries are officers and their families who've been injured in the line of duty, is that correct? Or maybe fatally?
Our guideline is it has to be a line of duty death or a catastrophic injury. And catastrophic means seriously bad stuff like paralyzed, you lost your legs, burns, things like that pretty much disables them.
Well, Mike Flamian, Officer Mike Flamian.
Yeah, Mike Flamian was shot on a car stop. Guy put a bullet in the back of his neck and paralyzed him, but amazingly he's doing quite well. He lives in a home out in Baldwin that the Gary
House.
The Gary Sinise Foundation provided that. And
how long ago did that happen?
That was in 2017?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recently.
I saw that house. I was there for the grand opening and the groundbreaking before that, and it's amazing.
Actually, they built 3 more of them for some of our catastrophically injured officers that survived,
Right.
Yeah.
So in the absence of this, and it's probably especially from 1959 and sometime thereafter, there really aren't sources of financial support to meet these needs. I mean, I'm sure there's a pension plan, of course. There's a health care plan, but there's not anything to provide for long-term care.
Well, the federal government has a public safety officer benefit program that provides a benefit, a one-time payment, and educational assistance also if needed. But that's around $300,000. But it's a one-time payment, and over a lifetime, that's not going to do much for you. I mean, it's a great, to have that when you have this initial tragedy, but it's not going to last long. But Backstoppers, we cover probably 4 main areas. We pay off the mortgage or take over the mortgage of the home. We do health insurance. We do educational assistance for the children are the
right.
survivors. I mean, and when I say with the kids, I always say we cover them from daycare through college, and that's what we do. And we let them choose the college they want to go to, and we'll help them out through it with the things they need to get through college a little bit, for different fees and all that.
And you operate all through public donations, is that correct?
Public donations through corporations, we have corporate donations, individual public donations. We have fundraisers done for us all year round, and of course we have our big event that we benefit from, which is
Guns and Hoses.
Guns and Hoses.
I've heard of this.
Yeah.
And this is an annual event?
Yeah, it's been going on 34 years. We weren't able to have it this year, but the sponsors stuck with us and gave the money anyway.
I'd like to know who thought of that name. I'd like to hire that person.
Yeah.
Well, he's not with us anymore. Jerry Clinton from Gray Eagle Distributors.
Really?
Him and Jack Martirelli and Bo Holly and Steve Holly, they were in the boxing back then, and they said, let's do a thing. They had the police fight the firemen, and they came up with the idea and developed it. It's under Budweiser, And
that's really great. And the name of it is clever.
And it's held on Thanksgiving Eve, that Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So it's really a fun event. I went to one of them one time.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So the last event we had, which was the year before last, we raised $900,000.
900 in one evening?
In one evening.
One evening.
Sold out the Enterprise Center.
That is a big crowd.
It's quite a crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So. Now, how soon after your retirement, it was pretty early on that you joined Backstoppers, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was a week later.
Yeah, I remembered that. It was very, I didn't remember it was a week.
I always told people,
but
I didn't retire. I got transferred to another assignment,
But now, give us take us through what was going on as you made your decision to retire. I assume, what year would that have been? It's before probably 2004. What year did you start thinking you were going to retire?
2002.
Okay. And so during that period of time, you were thinking about, what will I do with my time? And tell us how this developed into your decision to go with Backstoppers.
Well, obviously, the decision for Backstoppers was easy because, I was close to those families anyway. I was an advisory director at different times on the board, and I just, like I said, you have a commitment to do what you can to help these families. And I had told people in the organization, hey, if that job ever opens up, I'd be interested in it, and so it's just a calling I have, and, I'll be there I'll probably die with my boots on.
So you went in what position?
The executive director.
Executive director of Backstoppers, which is a 501c3.
Yes.
So is this a 40-hour-a-week job, I imagine?
Oh, yeah.
At least?
I didn't think so, but it is. It's more the geographic area we cover. I got to travel down to St. Genevieve and Cape Girardeau and things like that. And they're always asking for representatives to come and talk about the organization, which benefits us because it ends up in a donation, sometimes really big, so just was my job, so I do it.
So how do you allocate your time between the operational side, providing the services and benefits and assuring that the beneficiaries are well taken care of, and the fundraising side? Do you have people who report to you whose responsibilities are primarily
Yeah, when I first took over the job, it was just me and the office manager, and we were just feeling our way through because there wasn't much
structure
done in terms, not much structure there, but we developed it, and now I got a staff of 5, including an office manager, and they're wonderful. They do a great job. I mean, they're highly intelligent. They know all the things to do with the software, fundraising things like that. And, so I can leave a lot of the concerns there at the office with the office manager and the staff to handle that. And I can get out and, beat the bushes and knock on doors for money.
So is it fair to say, though, that the organization has become more professionalized? I mean, it's always a good organization, of course, since '59 and did a lot of good, as you mentioned. But the fact that they were operating with very little manpower or very little in terms of employees. And then you come on in 2004, and now there are a total of 5 of you, I guess.
6. Yeah.
So does that indicate that the organization has probably grown in terms of its budget, but also that it's become more formalized, more professionalized?
Oh, absolutely.
It's evolved.
It's evolved into something. It's a business now, and I mean, it's well structured. And when I took over, I knew it was going to take, 5 years to just get it moving a little bit. And fortunately, I got to say that, the board of directors have been highly supportive, and, they're all for, if it makes it better, they say do it, and, ethically, you're not going to get anybody better than me as far as running the organization and managing it and making sure things are done the right way.
Do you ever do anything for fun that typical retirees do, like play golf, go fishing, anything like that, travel?
Oh, I got a little place at the Lake of the Ozarks and, a little boat. So
you get to do some fun stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just got to manage my time, when there's a spot there that's open, and I get up and go. And my wife, she's my biggest supporter ever, anywhere. My wife, Mary Ann, and the kids and everything. And, they're all for it. And she's with me every step of the way. Mary Ann actually goes on a lot of the fundraisers with me and helps me.
Oh, okay.
So I love her to death.
You're still an important factor in the fundraising, even if you have somebody whose primary job that is.
No, I don't have anybody else.
So you are.
Right now, I am the primary fundraiser.
So it's you.
But the board members, they know people who know people, and they help set up the contacts, and if we have the communication going out in terms of, advertising, TV ads and things like that, social media has become a big deal with us. And I mean, that's turned the organization around, I think, in terms of awareness and fundraising.
Yeah. And in some ways it reduces costs of fundraising.
Yeah.
And I guess another thing, going back, before we leave the topic of talking about backstoppers, I'm just more interested from the operate or the business side. So you probably brought your experience in terms of structure. I'm resisting the word bureaucratic because that sounds negative, but you're used to having a structure around you organizationally.
Right.
So you brought that knowledge and that experience whenever you came over to Backstoppers. That was probably something that the organization was lacking at that stage.
Somewhat, yeah. I wouldn't say totally, but it was just 2 people handling it, and I put that in place pretty much.
And your intentions now are to stay indefinitely?
Yeah, indefinitely.
Do you go out with your boots on?
Yeah.
So now you have, you mentioned your kids. How many kids do you have?
Can I say one thing about Backstoppers as we close on that?
Sure.
I mean, we're always accepting donations, and if anyone wants to make a donation to the Backstoppers and these families, go to backstoppers.org, and you can do everything online.
Backstoppers.org. We can post that too.
We can definitely
on the website. And it's because it is a 501c3. It's fully deductible, so it makes it more attractive. So you have kids. How many kids do you have?
I got 4.
4. And may I ask how old they are?
Well, it's a blended family.
This is a test, but go ahead.
Yeah, 249, 147, and another. The youngest is Jenny's 38.
That's pretty good. If you're within a few years, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So they're up there a little bit. And your kids are they in St. Louis?
Yes, they are.
So you said it's blended. So some step kids, some kids.
Right. Mary Ann had 2 and I had 2.
Okay.
And grandkids, I'm sure?
Yeah, we got 5 grandkids.
And how old are they?
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy, you're really putting him under the gun.
17, 16, 16, 15, 13, something like that.
Oh, teenagers, so you don't have to worry about
Well, the
babysit
oldest
them.
is going into college in June.
Okay.
So.
Well, so do you think you're going to have any members of the police force in your family? Any of your kids of the police force?
Oh, my my son was a police officer in the St. Louis Police Department. He got injured on a job and had to go on a disability. My son-in-law is a police sergeant in Rock Hill, and my nephew is a county police sergeant, and my daughter was a police dispatcher for many years in Florissant. So they've all been in the...
So it stayed in the family.
There's something about policemen that more than most professions, I think, where it does tend to run in families. It's multi-generational. Why do you think that is?
Well, you grow up with the lifestyle. You know what you're getting into. You know the commitment it takes, and you know what you're going to be doing. And it is. Once a cop, always a cop. They say. You know, and the family follows suit. And from a police department's perspective, bringing the children of former police officers in is a plus because they know what they're getting into.
Sure.
Where somebody just out of college coming in thinks they're going to like the job, but once they're there, they don't,
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And in fairness, if your dad is an accountant, it's not quite, or your mom, it's not quite as cool as if your dad or mom is a policeman wearing a uniform and... You know what I'm saying? That appeals to boys at least.
But, my dad was a city fireman. And
fireman, same thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I didn't go in that direction. Well, it's probably good because I used to play with matches when I was a kid, so probably wouldn't be a good. No, I'm kidding. But no, I never had any desire. I just found it maybe a little too scary.
So did your dad retire from?
Yes.
Oh, really? Wow.
Now, are those generally shorter careers than are policemen generally put in a 30-year career?
It depends on where you're at in the pension plan. Like the city police officers can start going at 20.
Yeah.
The county plan was an 80-point plan, so you're talking probably closer to 25 to 30.
Because it's more at least theoretically, it's more physically demanding. And you would think, although sometimes I've seen cops who weren't in shape, but but for the most part, you'd think cops like that's the reason I asked about your dad, is you'd think that cops and firemen would especially have to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, both physical fitness
Definitely.
is important on both of them. Fire service pays a little better than police, but that's the downside of police work is that you're not going to become a millionaire out of that job. But, the opportunities are there for promotion. I was fortunate to move through the ranks and, come out pretty good. But it's a tough lifestyle. Most of them work secondary employment jobs to keep their expenses covered.
Were you ever injured on the job?
Not seriously. I was shot at. I shot at the person one time, but I didn't have any major physical altercations. You get your tussles here and there, but nothing I was put in the hospital for.
So was there a period of time that you were a detective? Is that considered one of the stages of promotion from?
It's not, that's not the rank system, but it is a career advancement system. And I did spent time on the street in uniform many years, like 4 or 5 years on the street. Then I moved in the detective bureau, and where I made sergeant when I was in the detective bureau. And then from there, I was a patrol supervisor on the street in uniform, and then I made lieutenant. I was a watch commander, uniform lieutenant. And then I was precinct captain at the North County precinct at that time, and then served in different staff assignments. The higher you go, it's more administrative than it is line. But
And correct me if I'm wrong. I know it's a difficult job, but it seems like you loved every aspect of it.
Oh, yeah. No, I wouldn't.
I mean, that's...
Well, but didn't you miss somewhat or did you, the fact that you were on the early part of your career, you were more on the street, or even when your planes closed, you're still interacting with the public perhaps more?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I missed it. I always said the best job I ever had was riding uniform police officer on the street. you could really get out there and accomplish some things and make a difference. And but it's a career path. You choose it or you don't. And I decided I was going to try to move up, improve myself at every step of the way and try to go forward.
Did you find that you lost some credibility with those below you when you were no longer on the street or an active cop in that way? Did they feel that perhaps you're a little more removed?
Some of them may have, but in general, I don't think so. I had a pretty good reputation when I was on the street. I worked hard. I did a lot of, crime prevention, traffic enforcement, arrest situations. I was in the top tier of getting the job done, And so,
well, you must have been. I mean, they kept promoting you.
Yeah.
Right. But, and I think that if I did lose a little credibility, I think when I became chief, it went back to them because they recognized I know what their needs were and my obligation to them is, and they knew I'd be behind them.
How did you prepare for retirement? Did you have a financial advisor, or what about the police union? Did they prepare you for that?
I had, when I came on, we had no pension plan in the county, but within the first year or two, they adopted one. And, us young single guys, we say, we can't afford that. We just want our money. We weren't making much money then anyway.
Right.
But the old guys said, you'll thank us forever. We're going to get this done. And they got it done, and I thank them forever. So we had a pension system, through my whole career.
Now, is that kind of that classic pension plan where you have fixed payments over time versus like what today they call a 401k?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a defined benefit plan.
Defined benefit plan, yeah.
Boy, that's nice. Is that still around?
No, I think the county went to a 401.
Yeah.
But, we had to contribute at first, and then the county changed that around, and they took over the financial support of it. And
so do cops, though, are they still eligible to get Social Security in addition to their pensions? I know school teachers, for example, in Missouri at least, because of the way their plan is written, typically if they're qualifying for the state teacher's retirement, then normally they don't qualify for.
It depends on what department you're with and what plan you're in. Like the St. Louis Police Department, I understand they can't get Social Security strictly through the police department. If they get other jobs, qualify that way, they may qualify. But in St. Louis County, we did pay into Social Security.
Okay. So then you do have, though, resources, and policemen generally have resources that advise them and help them as they start to transition.
Right. I mean, through the police academy and the ongoing training, they'd provide classes preparing for retirement and things like that to all of us, and I went to several of them, been pretty good, but the county was good. I mean, they had offered us 401, that we could get into on our own, and that was one regret. I don't think I got in there soon enough. Looking back, I wish I would have got into it sooner.
Yeah. And a lot of people feel that way. So is there a union? Is there a policeman's union in Missouri or in St. Louis County?
It's a department again. I mean, St. Louis County has a fraternal order of police, and the county police has their own association. The city police department has their own association or two. And
yeah.
Is it treated as a union, though? Probably not.
They're recognized as a union.
They are
recognized, yeah.
Okay. You don't hear of...
they gained that recognition recently, though, in the last several years.
Okay. That might be a good thing in their case.
Yeah.
Right, I would think so.
So you're getting back to the question about your transition. So you knew you were going to be working full-time, which I think that'll probably be a minority of our viewers who will go from one demanding career to another. But there are people who are happiest, you're one of them, who are happiest having some responsibility, a lot of responsibility, even after they retire from their first career. How old were you when you retired, if I may ask?
Like
ballpark?
61, something like that.
Okay, so I mean, you're at an age that probably the majority of the people watching this, they did not get a second job when they started. I think those are the statistics. Now that may change over the next 2 years.
I can see myself working till I'm 80 as long as I can.
Yeah.
I like working.
Yeah, I did too. I couldn't have sat around the house and, even with the lake thing, that wasn't enough to keep me, I want to keep doing things,
Right.
and I want to be involved in something and, just to go home and sit on the couch and, do whatever, I mean, I love my life. My wife, we love each other, but,
I mean, well, to be in your 80s and look as healthy as you are and be as sharp as you are and all, I would suggest that might not have been true if you had decided to just, chuck all the responsibility and spend a lot of time watching television or other things. That I don't know entirely what people do either. I'm 63, and I can't imagine not having ongoing responsibilities.
Yeah.
But I'll have to tell you, I don't want to be too hard on our viewers who have said, look, I put in, say, 65 years and that's enough. My dad seemed pretty happy. And I know some people that do seem. But I also know among a number of the people I know who are over 60, they really want to continue having a place and responsibilities that they have to take care of. Presumably something that they enjoy. Right. So that's a wonderful thing is when you get 60, is that if you're doing something that you're not entirely happy with, it's a good time where you can transition to something that you are entirely happy with.
Right.
In your case, you were entirely happy with both of these careers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you stayed in the law enforcement area by going into Backstoppers.
Yeah. I'm 78, but I don't feel like
I said 80s. I was doing the math. I was thinking you had to be.
I want to correct that.
Well,
I'll save those years as I got them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, 04 to 21. So I get it. I'm off a few
22,
years.
I don't know. But,
So, but you're healthy, and how long did your dad live?
He died in his 50s of leukemia.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah, that's tough.
Right, but my brothers and sisters, my oldest brother just passed away a couple of years ago, but so
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so he was your older brother?
I got a twin brother, actually, Rich, and then my older brother, Gary, and then my oldest sister, Carol. She's in her 80s. Gary's passed now, and Rich and I are 78.
It's still pretty long-lived.
Oh, yeah.
So you have a twin?
I don't plan on leaving.
Identical twin?
No.
Oh, okay.
But that's the point is, you can plan. You're right. I do think you can plan. Some people would say you can't, but I think when you take care of yourself, you can plan on a longer life.
Right.
And yet genes, can have an influence. And how long did your mother live?
Oh, she was at like 91.
Wow.
So you've got some good genes in your family.
Yeah. So, I mean, I respect the people that just want to retire and not do anything and just go fishing every day or play golf. More power to them.
Yeah, if it makes you happy.
If they can be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Right.
And not degenerate.
Yeah, but that's not me. I didn't, I tried golfing and I was terrible at it. So
I'm impatient with it.
Takes too much time. I got things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 3 hours out there.
3.
Yeah. Well, and not to mention
6.
in the heat.
Yeah.
A lot of folks will spend,
Now let me tell you, I can watch golf, and the reason I can watch golf is they're continually moving that camera. Mm-hmm. So you're going from one hole so there's never a moment when there's not action.
Yeah, they keep it going.
Yeah. So I can watch golf.
I do watch it.
But I agree with you. To play golf, and I know some people out there will disagree with us, but to me, it just is boring and takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. You have to have that patience, I think, for it.
Yeah. I think it does take some patience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And probably a full cooler.
Yeah. And a lot of practice to be any good,
So what do you do to stay in shape?
I work out at home. I was a member of the Y for years, during my career and worked out there. I still go there occasionally, not much as I should, but with the COVID, obviously, it
Right.
cut back on all that.
Well, when did you start working out in your career? Did you always work out from the time you were an adult?
To some extent, yeah. Because when I was at the Air Force Academy, I was assigned the athletic department, so we did a lot of things there, assisting the coaches and everything. We get involved in that. But I worked out somewhat, not as much as I should have in my early part of my career, but then when I got older and in the management and everything, I thought about really need to get ramp this up. So I got involved at the Y and started working out there, and I'm still a member there. I mean, I've been a member 20 years, 30 years, something like that.
So when you got, I'll use the phrase desk job, when you got a job where they're potentially more sedentary, you knew then that you need to keep in shape. So beginning what age, around 50 or so?
Yeah.
You started being more consistent?
Yeah.
So what would be
50? I'd say 40.
40. And so what would be your routine typically? Would you go to the gym once a week? Would you go 2 or 3 times a week?
My plan was to go there 3 times a week, and I'd do go through the weight
circuit.
Yeah, go through that, with 3 or 4 different weights, and then I'd hit the treadmill or the bicycle or something like that, and then jog a couple laps and that. I was usually doing it on my lunch hour, so.
On your lunch hour, really?
Yeah.
So you would use your lunch hour to work out?
Yeah.
Like typically 3 days a week?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't eat a lot back then, or, I'd just get a salad here and there for lunch. And
so you're pretty lean. Have you always been this lean?
I wish I was leaner.
Well, you look pretty lean from here.
Yeah,
so.
pretty much.
And so what about your eating habits? Do you try to eat healthy food? Are you real conscientious, or are you one of these people who has good genes and you don't have to?
No, the wife and I, we're very conscious about what we're eating and try to eat healthy. And she's a great cook. I mean, she can cook anything. And, we go out a lot because it's just me and her at home, so it just works out. We stop and grab something somewhere, but we try to get something healthy if we can.
Oh, yeah, and there's lots of healthy choices at restaurants.
Right.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Well, and everybody's been forced to eat home unless
yeah.
you have it delivered by DoorDash.
Yeah.
Or,
Even fast food has some healthy options. They have the veggie burgers now.
Yeah.
yeah, Impossible Burger. Have you had an Impossible Burger?
Heck yeah.
Aren't those incredible?
Yeah, we get them. The wife and I were talking about them yesterday, that we need to get them again.
They taste like the real thing.
It's amazing that they can taste more like charcoal beef than charcoal beef almost.
Well, I was at Fritz's Root Beer a couple of years ago, and I ordered their veggie burger, which is like the Impossible Burger. And I took a bite in it, and I thought, uh-oh, they gave me the real thing. And I called the server over. I said, I'm not trying to complain, but I think you gave me a real hamburger. No, we get that all the time. That's the burger. It was, yeah.
Where was that at?
It was at Fritz's Root Beer on, the Del Mar Loop.
Yeah.
They should capture that on video and make it an ad. That's what an ad. You there complaining that they've given you real beef.
I think we've come up with a new commercial.
So, so then your plan now is to continue working. In terms of, I guess I'm trying to shift gears and think about the financial challenge. We should talk a little bit about, for people who are wondering, how do you plan financially, and what are some suggestions in retirement? And one thing I guess some people would be they'd have a spouse who might also have been employed and then retired, and they'd have an income from there. Was your wife employed outside the home?
She was. She's not now, but she was employed. And, we both draw Social Security, and, I've got my pension coming in, and the Backstoppers, is elected to pay me too, so.
But you all never had a desire to acquire a property, for example, a second home, in Florida, or I hear about Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Phoenix, Arizona, for 21 months has had the fastest growth of any city in the United States.
Is that right?
Yeah.
21 months straight. But anyway, so a lot of people, at least I talked to in Missouri, some of them who can afford something modest, but they'll either look to Florida or they'll look to Arizona. Did you ever think about that?
Oh, yeah. We got, I got the place at the lake, at the Lake of the Ozarks.
Lake of the Ozarks.
But, I wouldn't go to Phoenix. So there's, that's all golf there in my estimation. So,
and desert doesn't appeal to me.
So Florida is our destination, and we always talk about being able to get down there in one form or another, at least for the winter months, and so.
But if you did that, you would do it. You would rent something as opposed to buy something.
Yes, I would. Yeah.
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 We bought something, and I'm starting to conclude in recent years that the smart people are the ones who just come down and rent. Because you pay for 3 months or so, and then you're done with it.
Yeah. And you can move around, go to different locations.
Ones.
And so that's
what part of Florida do you like?
Southwest Florida, around Fort Myers and Marco Island. That's all.
Marco Island, I've been there.
It's gorgeous.
Love it.
But we also like the faster side with Fort Lauderdale area. We've been down there many times.
Well, and with technology being what it is, and certainly what we've experienced over the last year, you can work remotely.
Yeah.
So you could still maintain your job with Backstoppers.
Well, I would hope so. And, that I have to be there in person for a lot of things. So, to work down there, I'd have to, that's one of the things I have to consider.
And maybe you've not talked about this a lot, but I know our clients think about it a lot, and not to mention our viewers and others who are past 70, especially past 80. But, what will be the plan when the time comes that you have more difficulty taking care of yourselves on your own? Do you give that any thought? Or I know I can think that I can divide most people I talk to into one of two groups. There's one group that says, look, I'm going to stay right where I am. I'm going to age where I am. I'm going to use whatever resources I possibly can to keep me where I am, et cetera. Then there's this other group, a good portion of which have been exposed to these really cool facilities now versus the old folks' home. And
retirement communities.
And I'm talking about really cool retirement communities where it's contrary to what many people think.
They look like resorts.
They're kind of like resorts,
and
they're full of activity and really nice places. Like you buy your own condo, sort of. So most people kind of sell their home and then use that money to. So that's the other group, are the people who say, no, we're looking forward to moving into one of these communities someday. And others say never. Do you lean one way or the other on that discussion?
Never.
No. You didn't have to qualify that one.
No, I don't.
So you don't.
At this point in time in my life, that's not in my thought train. We're just going to live life and take care of each other and do what we can.
But your goal then, you're saying, would be to live in your own place as long as you can. You wouldn't want to live in a community like that unless you had to.
Yeah, unless I'm forced to.
Yeah, unless you're forced to, right.
But, I have no desire to do that right now.
Well, the way you're going, I wouldn't expect you to have to ever do that. Because, a lot of people say, what do they call it? A rectangular survival curve. And what they mean by that, you may know this, but is that if experts on longevity and whatnot say that, unfortunately, the degenerative pattern, which is all too common in America, largely because of our debauched lifestyle in terms of health and whatnot, is that as you age, if you had a graph, and you represented your mobility and your self-sufficiency, it kind of trails down until eventually, you get to the bottom, you're dead. The rectangular survival curve is what would have existed 10,000 years ago, where, everything's good. You're the same level of functionality. You go, and then one day you're eaten by a lion. You know what I'm saying? So it's rectangular because you go to this point and then, and there's something really nice about that because, and we know people, all of us know people who that's been their experience. They are functional, very functional up until the day they passed away or close to. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't have to be perfectly rectangular.
Right.
But people who live their lives like you often find that they're just going and going up until the end.
I hope so.
So it sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. Well, I have to ask, what's on the rest of your bucket list?
I mean, we'd like to do a little more, going to Florida a little more often. We'd like to take a trip or two to Europe sometime, do a river cruise over there. And we got a few things.
Do you travel much now, though? I mean, other than that related to your responsibilities?
In a normal year before COVID, we'd get to probably Florida once a year, and I'd go to Washington, D.C. for the police memorial stuff once a year, and police chiefs conferences here and there,
But you all haven't done a lot of international travel.
Mexico, Canada, that's about it. So, yeah, we have a desire to, like I said, a river cruise or something throughout Europe. We'd like to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see where you'd want to take some time to travel, and yet at the same time you're thinking you have these other responsibilities, so you want to stay close to home. I'm convinced we're going to go back to normal very quickly. I really don't believe the idea that recreational travel is going to be substantially diminished for the indefinite future. I mean, I think maybe another year. I don't even think a year, but I'll give somebody who makes that argument, I'll give them a year. But I just think that our nature is to travel so much that it'd be hard to keep people off a cruise ship.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And let me tell you, cruise ships are great. Have you done many cruise ships?
I have not done a cruise ship.
I'm telling you.
My wife has.
I haven't.
Well, then your wife knows this too. She's probably said this, is that it's really it's a marvelous way to travel where everything is nearby. You can get off and visit new places, but you don't have to pack your luggage.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're very affordable. I mean, dollar for dollar, whether it's very high end or very low end, dollar for dollar, you'll get more luxury for your buck on a cruise ship than anywhere else, dollar for dollar. And that includes the very high end as well as the very low end.
And I hear the food's out of this world.
Depending on the ship, yeah. You can find, Carnival, you can find ships where, it's a little mass-produced. It's not bad, but no one would call it gourmet. But some people wouldn't complain. I would complain. I suspect we would all complain.
Yeah.
But a number of the cruise ships, they're just known for having these incredible chefs, some of whom have national renown and who appear periodically, some who've given their careers to serving in the cruise industry. But so I'm a big advocate for our viewers, especially here, people who are over 65. It's a really cool way to travel.
Yeah.
It's safe.
I'd like to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that they're starting to get those cruises they're going to dust off those ships.
And I bet they'll have some really good deals to draw people back.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think?
I would think, but it's so unpredictable that the only reason we wouldn't have good deals would be that there's so much pent-up demand that the moment that they announce we have a cruise that people are charging in, and I've seen this we've seen this in other industries where they go from 20% capacity to 92% capacity because there was such pent-up demand. And that may be what happens for the cruise industry.
Right.
It's hard to know. But I tell you, we could talk a lot more about your background, and I know that there'll be people out there. I'm going to say this. I don't think you'll mind. I know among probably many of you are sitting out there listening, thinking, "Okay, when is he going to ask about what's going on in America right now in terms of the protests and the police getting in, suffering the things they're suffering?" But before we went on, I mentioned to to Captain Battelle that could we talk about this? And I get it. Your position is, look, I just don't want to go there. I don't want to comment on that, and I get it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate what's going on, but just leave it go at that.
Leave it go at that, because there's really nothing to say, and I get that. But I only brought that up because I know some of you are sitting there on the edge of your seat. Why did he forget to ask about this? And the reason was it wasn't the purpose. That's not the subject matter of this
right.
format. So we try not to get political, incidentally, on this format.
Right. Thank you.
You're a fount of information, and your achievements are remarkable. We'd love to be able to check back in and see how your second career is going at some point.
Anytime.
That would be great.
We appreciate your coming on. You've set a high benchmark for our profile of prominent people.
Since you are our first notable senior retiree, yeah.
Yeah, to the extent we can call him a retiree.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Well, I appreciate you inviting me here, and I enjoyed it very much.
Okay, well,
We'll have you
thank you.
back.
This has been another episode of Elder Talk. Till next time, take care.
You've been listening to Elder Talk with TuckerAllen, providing intelligent answers for those thinking about their future, with Attorney-CPA Joe Cordell. Sponsored by TuckerAllen, your estate and elder law advisors. For more information, visit TuckerAllen.com. Listen again next Saturday for another edition of Elder Talk with TuckerAllen. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.